The story opens in the cold, unforgiving expanse of a remote frontier town, where Clara, the protagonist, lives under the oppressive shadow of her own family. From a young age, Clara has been labeled lame because of a physical disability that makes walking difficult and exhausting. Her family's cruelty is not subtle. They openly mock her, comparing her to other girls who can run, dance, and perform chores effortlessly. They speak of her as a burden, as if her very existence diminishes their status or happiness. Clara, however, has learned to navigate this constant disdain with quiet endurance. She is kind-hearted, intelligent, and resourceful, yet no act of obedience or effort ever earns her genuine affection. As winter descends, bringing icy winds and snow that blankets the landscape in a suffocating white, her family's resentment reaches a tipping point. They see her growing disability not as a call for care, but as an inconvenience. The father, driven by greed and a desire to rid himself of the burden, decides that Clara will no longer remain under their roof. The mother, cold and fearful, passively allows this cruel decision to unfold. Clara is informed abruptly one morning that she must leave immediately, without explanation beyond the cold dismissal of, "You're not our responsibility anymore." Her siblings, once indifferent, now mirror the family's contempt, treating her as though she were invisible. Clara's heart breaks, not only from the betrayal of her parents, but from the stark realization that she must survive, alone in the merciless winter. She is left with only tattered clothes, a thin blanket, and a small satchel containing meager supplies. The door shuts behind her, the sound echoing like a death knell. Clara steps into the snow, her legs trembling, each movement a painful reminder of her condition. The world outside is vast, cold, and threatening, a stark contrast to the minimal comfort of her former home. Every step is a struggle. The snow is deep and icy, biting at her skin and slowing her progress. Despite the overwhelming despair, Clara's inner strength begins to emerge. She recalls lessons of resilience her mother once unintentionally taught her: how to observe the world carefully, to use her wits, and to endure discomfort. Though her body aches and her fingers and toes are numb with cold, her mind remains sharp. She clings to a fragile thread of hope, the possibility of finding shelter, warmth, and perhaps even kindness in an unforgiving world. Every movement through the snow is a testament to her determination, a refusal to let her family's cruelty dictate the end of her story. The narrative also establishes the stark social dynamics of Clara's world. She is alone not only because of physical abandonment, but because society in general sees her as weak and unworthy. The villagers gossip, spreading tales of her supposed inadequacy. Yet, in this crucible of suffering, Clara's character is forged. Her vulnerability is apparent, but so is her courage. Readers are invited to feel her pain and fear deeply, but also to recognize the quiet strength that will define her journey. By the end of this section, Clara is barely crawling through the snow, frostbitten and exhausted, yet alive. The night falls, and the harsh winter winds threaten to overwhelm her. This moment creates a tense, almost cinematic scene where survival itself is a battle. It sets the stage for the story's central turning point, the moment when Gabriel, the rich and lonely rancher, will enter her life. Part 1 closes with Clara's determination shimmering faintly against the cruel backdrop, foreshadowing that even in the depths of betrayal and despair, hope and human kindness can still arrive unexpectedly. After being abandoned by her family, Clara finds herself completely alone in a vast frozen wilderness. The snow stretches endlessly, a blinding white expanse under a gray, stormy sky. Each step, or more accurately, each crawl, is a monumental struggle. Her legs, weakened from years of limited mobility, protest with every motion. Her fingers and toes are numb, stiffened by frostbite, and the biting wind cuts through the thin layers of clothing she has. Hunger gnaws at her belly, but it is the cold and the isolation that threaten her most. As Clara crawls, she is acutely aware of the danger surrounding her. Snow conceals frozen rivers and treacherous patches of ice. One wrong movement could send her plunging into freezing water or snapping a bone. The landscape, vast and indifferent, seems almost hostile in its beauty, pristine yet deadly. Her breath comes in shallow gasps, visible in the frigid air, mingling with the fine snow drifting around her. Each movement is painstaking, and yet she refuses to stop. To do so would be to surrender entirely. Her mind becomes both a refuge and a battleground. Memories of warmth, of her mother's rare smiles before cruelty hardened her heart, of small moments of joy with siblings who now callously turned away, flash through her consciousness. These memories bring both sorrow and strength. She remembers stories she once heard about resilient women surviving impossible odds, and she silently tells herself she will become one of them. Every thought of giving up is met with a steely determination. I will not die here. Not today. The physical toll is immense. Every inch forward feels like a mile. Her clothes, thin and tattered, offer little protection. Snow sticks to her hair and skin, melting slightly and then freezing, leaving a sharp sting. Her body begins to shake uncontrollably from the cold, and she fights the temptation to curl up and let permanent sleep take her. Clara's inner monologue reveals her courage. Despite the pain and fear, she is unwilling to let despair consume her. Survival becomes an act of defiance, a rebellion against the cruelty that abandoned her. As the day drags on, Clara's movements grow slower, her strength waning. The horizon is featureless, and the sun is hidden behind thick clouds, offering no guidance or warmth. Yet, even in her exhaustion, her senses remain alert. She notices subtle changes in the snow, the distant shapes of trees, and the occasional tracks of animals that have survived these harsh conditions. Each observation is a tiny lifeline, a potential path toward survival. The narrative emphasizes Clara's resourcefulness. She uses her limited strength to drag herself toward shelter. She glimpses in the distance a small grove of trees or a slope that might provide some windbreak. She scavenges what she can from the environment: brittle twigs for warmth, patches of dried grass for padding. Each small action, though painful and exhausting, demonstrates her growing ability to adapt even in a world that seems determined to crush her. By the end of this section, Clara is on the brink of collapse. Her body is weak, her spirit strained, and the snowstorm is intensifying. The night will soon fall, and with it, the temperature will drop to lethal levels. Yet, amid this desperation, there is a subtle thread of hope, the glimmer of life that refuses to be extinguished. The story sets the stage for the next pivotal moment: the appearance of Gabriel, the rich rancher, whose timely intervention will change Clara's fate. As Clara struggles through the relentless snow, her strength nearly spent, the story shifts to Gabriel, a wealthy but lonely rancher who lives on the outskirts of the wilderness. Gabriel is a man shaped by solitude and responsibility. His vast ranch requires constant attention, and he has grown accustomed to handling life's challenges alone. Though he is affluent and capable, there is a quiet sorrow that lingers in him, a sense of isolation that wealth cannot remedy. Gabriel rises early, riding through the snow-covered fields to check on his land, ensuring the livestock and property are safe from the harsh winter that has settled over the region. While riding through a particularly desolate stretch, Gabriel notices a faint, erratic movement in the distance, a small figure crawling slowly through the snow. At first, he assumes it is a lost animal, but something about the figure's shape and the way it struggles causes him to pull his horse to a halt. His sharp eyes detect the unmistakable outline of a human, weak and vulnerable, fighting against the snow with every ounce of energy. Concern immediately replaces his initial curiosity, and he senses that this is no ordinary situation. Gabriel approaches cautiously, aware of the dangers of the winter wilderness. As he draws nearer, he sees the full extent of Clara's plight. A young woman, barely conscious, her body trembling from the cold, her clothes inadequate against the biting wind. Her skin is pale and streaked with frost, her hair frozen at the ends, and her eyes wide with fear and pain. For a moment, Gabriel is struck silent by the raw vulnerability before him. He senses the depth of her suffering, and his instincts, part compassion, part pragmatism, push him into action. He dismounts from his horse and carefully makes his way to her side, speaking softly, trying to calm her. Clara, frightened and wary, instinctively curls into herself, uncertain whether this stranger is a threat or another cruelty in a world that has shown her nothing but betrayal. Gabriel's gentle voice and calm demeanor gradually reassure her, but it is the warmth of his presence, the sheer force of his concern, that begins to pierce through her panic. Without hesitation, Gabriel lifts Clara from the snow, wrapping her tightly in his thick coat. The contrast between her freezing, fragile form and his protective strength is stark. Each movement is careful. One wrong shift could worsen her injuries or cause her to collapse. He carries her toward his ranch, a long trek through the snowy fields where shelter, warmth, and safety await. Along the way, he murmurs comforting words, simple reassurances that she is not alone anymore, though Clara barely responds, exhausted and wary. This encounter also serves to introduce Gabriel's character more deeply. He is a man capable of decisive action, but his empathy is rare in a harsh world. The discovery of Clara stirs emotions he has long buried: protectiveness, compassion, and an unexpected sense of purpose. The moment is transformative not only for Clara but also for him. Her plight awakens a part of his heart that has lain dormant in years of solitude. By the end of, Clara is in Gabriel's arms, transported away from immediate danger but still fragile and vulnerable. The snowstorm continues to rage around them, emphasizing the peril she has narrowly escaped. Readers sense the delicate balance between despair and salvation. This scene sets the stage for the next chapter, the initial moments of care and healing at Gabriel's ranch, where Clara will begin to recover physically and emotionally under his watchful protection. It is a turning point that moves the story from sheer survival into the possibility of hope, trust, and the beginnings of a life rebuilt from tragedy. After Gabriel carries Clara through the snow, he finally reaches the edge of his ranch, a modest but sturdy cabin that stands as a refuge in the harsh wilderness. The warm glow of firelight from within contrasts sharply with the cold, unrelenting snowstorm outside. As he steps inside, the heat hits Clara with a force that almost overwhelms her frozen body. Her fingers and toes are stiff and pale, her limbs trembling from both cold and exhaustion. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, she is safe from the immediate threat of the elements. Gabriel sets her gently on a soft rug near the fire. Every movement is deliberate and careful. He does not want to cause her pain or worsen her injuries. The room is filled with the comforting crackle of the hearth, a sound so foreign and soothing that Clara is momentarily stunned. She is wary, uncertain if this kindness will last, conditioned by years of neglect and cruelty. Her instincts tell her to be cautious, but the warmth and safety she feels chip away at her suspicion, even as she shivers under his heavy coat. Gabriel immediately assesses her condition. He notices frostbite on her fingers and toes, bruising along her arms and legs from crawling through the snow, and signs of severe fatigue. His first priority is to restore her body's warmth. He removes the frozen outer layers of her clothing and wraps her in a thick, soft blanket, speaking in calm, gentle tones to reassure her. "You're safe now," he says repeatedly, as if saying it aloud will make it true for both of them. Clara clings to the blanket, grateful yet still hesitant to fully trust. Next, Gabriel brings her food and warm tea. Clara's stomach has been empty for hours, and she eats cautiously at first, afraid that her hunger has left her weak and vulnerable. The simple act of eating slowly strengthens her, and with each sip of the hot tea, she feels the chill begin to lift from her core. Gabriel's care is patient and measured. He does not push her to speak or explain. He simply provides for her needs, allowing her to regain control over her body and mind at her own pace. As she begins to thaw and regain some energy, small gestures of compassion create an initial bond between them. Gabriel brushes snow from her hair, carefully wipes the ice from her face, and ensures she is comfortable. Clara notices his quiet strength and steadiness qualities that contrast sharply with the instability and cruelty of her family. Despite her exhaustion, she senses something different about him, a genuine concern that does not demand anything in return. For the first time, she experiences the rare and unfamiliar sensation of safety. Throughout this process, Clara's internal thoughts reveal a mix of relief, disbelief, and cautious hope. She marvels at the stark contrast between Gabriel's care and the neglect she endured for most of her life. The narrative emphasizes her gradual emotional shift from terror and despair to a tentative trust. Her body begins to relax, and for the first time in days, she allows herself to lean on someone else without fear of abandonment. Gabriel, meanwhile, experiences his own transformation. Finding Clara in such desperate need awakens feelings of protectiveness and empathy that he had long buried beneath years of solitude and responsibility. The act of helping her restores a sense of purpose, reminding him that human connection, compassion, care, and trust is more valuable than wealth or isolation. By the end of, Clara is safe by the fire, partially recovered, and beginning to sense the possibility of a life that is not defined by cruelty or abandonment. Gabriel's ranch becomes a sanctuary, a place where survival and care intersect. This chapter lays the foundation for their growing relationship, signaling the start of Clara's journey. With Clara safely inside Gabriel's warm cabin, the following days mark the beginning of her physical and emotional recovery. The storm outside rages on, but inside the ranch, she gradually begins to regain strength. At first, even small movements sitting upright, lifting a cup of tea, or stepping toward the fire are exhausting. Gabriel, patient and observant, helps her through each challenge, never rushing her or treating her as incapable. His quiet support contrasts sharply with the harshness she endured from her family, teaching her that kindness and respect are powerful forms of healing. Clara's physical recovery is slow but steady. Frostbitten fingers regain sensation, bruises fade, and her body, long weakened by neglect and exhaustion, grows stronger through daily care and nourishment. She begins light exercises that Gabriel suggests, small stretches and walking practice to improve her mobility. Each incremental success boosts her confidence, showing her that her lame label was never a measure of her true worth. She learns to navigate the cabin and the ranch with the aid of simple tools and strategies that maximize her independence. Alongside her physical healing, Clara experiences a profound emotional transformation. The trauma of abandonment and cruelty does not disappear, but the warmth, patience, and trust she receives from Gabriel begin to soften the long-held fear and skepticism in her heart. She starts to speak more, to share small stories of her past, and even laugh at tiny moments of humor in daily ranch life. The ranch becomes a space of safety and learning, a stark contrast to the place where she was left to die. Gabriel, too, grows through this process. Clara's resilience and determination inspire him. Caring for her awakens a long-suppressed empathy and compassion, revealing layers of his character that had been hidden under years of solitude. He is patient with her slow recovery, celebrating each small achievement and encouraging her to see herself not as weak, but as capable and courageous. Their relationship begins to deepen naturally, built on mutual respect, trust, and a growing emotional intimacy. The adaptation to ranch life introduces Clara to new responsibilities and routines. She learns to assist with chores that are manageable, from feeding the smaller livestock to tending a small garden near the cabin. These tasks are physically challenging but fulfilling, allowing her to feel capable and needed. Gabriel teaches her practical skills, showing her how to handle tools safely, maintain equipment, and understand the rhythms of the land. In doing so, he empowers her to reclaim agency over her life, turning vulnerability into competence. During this time, Clara also begins to confront the emotional scars left by her family. Through reflection and conversation with Gabriel, she processes her anger, grief, and lingering fears. Gabriel's steady presence provides a mirror for her growth. He respects her boundaries, listens without judgment, and validates her feelings. Slowly, Clara starts to view herself not as lame or unworthy, but as someone strong, capable, and deserving of love and care. By the end of Part 5, Clara has made remarkable progress. She moves with more confidence, engages actively in ranch life, and shares moments of genuine connection with Gabriel. Their bond is no longer just one of caretaker and rescued. It is becoming a partnership rooted in respect and emerging affection. The ranch, once just a safe place to recover, transforms into a world of possibility, where Clara can envision a future defined not by her past suffering, but by her resilience, determination, and growing sense of self-worth. This stage of healing and adaptation sets the stage for the next phase of the story, where external threats and challenges will test Clara's newfound strength and the bond she has begun to form with Gabriel, deepening the drama and emotional stakes of their journey together. As Clara's strength and confidence grow, she begins to fully integrate into the rhythm and routines of Gabriel's ranch. Life on the ranch is demanding, shaped by the harsh frontier environment and the daily responsibilities of caring for livestock, crops, and the land. Clara initially approaches these tasks cautiously, aware of her physical limitations and conscious of not wanting to overstep. Yet Gabriel encourages her to participate in meaningful ways, giving her responsibilities that challenge her abilities but also showcase her intelligence, diligence, and resilience. Clara starts with small, manageable chores, feeding chickens, gathering eggs, and tending the garden near the cabin. Each task becomes an opportunity to rebuild her confidence and sense of self-worth. Her persistence impresses Gabriel, who watches her tackle these tasks with determination, creativity, and patience. She invents methods to make the chores easier on herself, such as using sturdy sticks as walking aids or devising ways to lift water without straining her body. These adaptations demonstrate her ingenuity and transform her disability into a testament to her resourcefulness. As the days pass, Clara begins to take on larger responsibilities. She helps mend fences, care for the livestock, and even learn basic carpentry and maintenance skills. Her successes earn her the respect of the ranch hands and even the occasional visitor who might stop by, showing that her capabilities extend far beyond what her cruel family ever imagined. Clara's presence on the ranch becomes more than just tolerated. She becomes essential to its smooth operation. In doing so, she proves to herself that her worth is defined by her actions, intelligence, and character, not by the prejudices of those who abandoned her. Throughout this period, the bond between Clara and Gabriel deepens. Their relationship evolves naturally through shared experiences, quiet conversations, and subtle moments of mutual care. Gabriel admires Clara's determination and strength, while Clara begins to trust him not only as a protector, but as a friend and confidant. Their connection is built on respect, empathy, and shared labor, which makes the developing affection between them feel grounded and realistic. They exchange stories of their pasts, dreams for the future, and small humorous moments that lighten the hard work of ranch life. The ranch itself serves as a living metaphor for Clara's transformation. Once a dangerous, empty wilderness where she crawled through snow, it is now a place of productivity, growth, and life. The land mirrors her journey from vulnerability to competence. Just as she nurtures plants, repairs fences, and cares for animals, she also nurtures her own strength and resilience. Each task completed, each problem solved, reinforces her sense of capability and belonging. Life on the ranch also teaches Clara the importance of patience, endurance, and observation. She learns to read the weather, anticipate the needs of animals, and understand the cycles of crops and seasons. These lessons expand her mind and perspective, allowing her to feel competent in ways she never imagined. More importantly, she starts to recognize the value of teamwork her efforts. Just as Clara begins to feel a sense of belonging and purpose on the ranch, the story introduces external challenges that threaten the fragile peace she has found. These threats come in multiple forms, both human and environmental, forcing Clara and Gabriel to confront dangers that test their resilience, courage, and the strength of their bond. The arrival of these pressures serves to heighten the tension and drama, pushing Clara further along her journey from vulnerability to empowerment. One source of conflict comes from Clara's past. Her cruel family, hearing rumors of her survival and the comfort she now enjoys, decides to reassert control or reclaim what they believe is theirs, perhaps out of greed, shame, or spite. Their return to the area is menacing, a reminder of the cruelty and abandonment that nearly cost Clara her life. They may attempt to belittle her again, claim her as still inferior, or even threaten Gabriel's property, expecting compliance. Their intrusion forces Clara to confront old fears and insecurities while relying on the inner strength she has been building since her rescue. At the same time, societal pressures loom. Townsfolk or neighbors may question the propriety of a wealthy rancher harboring a lame woman on his property. Gossip spreads, fueled by prejudice and assumptions, portraying Clara as unworthy or undeserving. These societal judgments are subtle but insidious, pressuring both Clara and Gabriel to defend their choices and confront a world that measures worth by outdated notions of strength and appearance. Through these challenges, the story highlights themes of judgment, resilience, and the courage to stand against social stigma. Clara herself evolves in response to these threats. She is no longer the passive, abandoned girl of the snowstorm. She actively defends herself and her place on the ranch. Whether confronting her family's cruelty with composed defiance, speaking out against gossip, or assisting Gabriel in practical ways to safeguard the ranch, Clara demonstrates resourcefulness, intelligence, and courage. The ranch, once merely a safe haven, now becomes a stage for her assertiveness and strategic thinking. Every challenge she overcomes reinforces her self-worth and solidifies her identity as a capable, resilient woman. Gabriel's role is equally important in this section. He is protective without being overbearing, allowing Clara to exercise her autonomy and strength while providing support and guidance. Their partnership deepens under pressure, moving from a dynamic of caretaker and rescue to one of equals working together against a common challenge. Their interactions during this period are rich with emotional depth, shared worry, quiet reassurance, and moments of vulnerability that strengthen trust and intimacy. The natural elements of the frontier also add to the tension. Winter storms, threats to livestock, and harsh terrain act as constant reminders of the dangers inherent in their environment. These challenges force both Clara and Gabriel to make quick decisions, rely on each other, and demonstrate bravery and ingenuity. The combination of human and environmental threats keeps the narrative suspenseful and maintains high stakes, making each success feel hard-won and significant. By the end, Clara has faced and overcome multiple external pressures. She has defended her dignity, proven her capabilities, and solidified her role on the ranch. Gabriel, in turn, has seen her transformation firsthand and respects her strength, courage, and resourcefulness. This chapter serves as a crucial turning point in the story, setting the stage for deeper emotional connections, personal growth, and eventual confrontation with lingering emotional trauma. Clara emerges not only physically stronger but mentally and emotionally resilient, ready to embrace love, partnership, and the life she once thought impossible. With the external threats addressed and Clara firmly established in life on the ranch, the story shifts to the deepening emotional connection between her and Gabriel. By this point, their relationship has moved far beyond the simple roles of rescuer and rescued. Through shared experiences, quiet conversations, and the trials they have endured together, a bond of trust, respect, and affection has begun to form a bond that will become the emotional heart of the story. The narrative explores their growing intimacy in subtle, nuanced ways. Gabriel, once a solitary man accustomed to handling life and hardship alone, finds himself opening up in ways he never has before. He shares stories of his past losses, regrets, and dreams he once thought impossible. Clara listens, offering empathy and understanding, her compassion breaking through the walls Gabriel has carefully constructed around himself. In turn, Gabriel notices Clara's resilience, intelligence, and strength, not just the survival instinct that brought her to the ranch, but the courage and determination she exhibits daily. Clara's own emotional journey continues in parallel. She is learning to trust someone fully, to accept care without fear of exploitation or abandonment. The trauma of her family's betrayal lingers, but Gabriel's consistent kindness allows her to soften, to see that humans are capable of love and loyalty. She begins to feel deserving of protection, affection, and respect. Small gestures, a warm smile, an offered hand, or a quiet word of encouragement carry deep significance for Clara, reinforcing that she is valued not for what she can do, but for who she is. The story emphasizes shared routines and small, intimate moments as catalysts for emotional connection. They work side by side on ranch tasks, from feeding animals to repairing fences, discovering in these acts an opportunity to communicate without words. A glance across the barn, the passing of a cup of tea, or a shared laugh in the midst of a snowstorm becomes an unspoken language of care and understanding. These simple yet profound moments cultivate trust and a growing sense of companionship, illustrating that love often emerges in the quiet, everyday interactions of life. Conflict is subtly woven into this stage as well, testing their emotional bond. External pressures may still linger, such as rumors or societal scrutiny, and moments of vulnerability or fear reveal the depth of their connection. Gabriel must learn to balance his protective instincts with respect for Clara's independence, while Clara navigates the tension between trust and her past trauma. These challenges, rather than weakening their relationship, strengthen it, forging a partnership built on equality, understanding, and shared resilience. By this point, the ranch itself has become symbolic of their relationship. It is no longer merely a refuge or a place of survival. It represents growth, stability, and the promise of a future they can shape together. The land reflects the depth of their bond. The effort, patience, and care they invest in it mirror the emotional nurturing they provide each other. Clara sees herself not just as a survivor, but as a partner in building a life filled with purpose, meaning, and love. By the end of their emotional connection is firmly established. Clara feels secure in her place, not only on the ranch but in Gabriel's heart. Gabriel, in turn, recognizes that Clara is not a dependent to be cared for, but a companion whose presence enriches his. After months of healing, adaptation, and growing emotional bonds with Gabriel, Clara reaches a point in her journey where she must confront the lingering shadows of her past. This is the pivotal moment where her transformation is truly tested emotionally, mentally, and even physically. The confrontation forces Clara to reconcile the pain, betrayal, and judgment she endured with the strength and resilience she has cultivated on the ranch. The first element of the confrontation comes from her family, who may return, either seeking to assert control over her or hoping to reclaim what they view as theirs. Their presence ignites old fears and memories, reminding Clara of the betrayal that nearly cost her life. They may attempt manipulation, guilt, or intimidation, expecting her to revert to the frightened, obedient girl they once controlled. However, Clara, now fortified by her experiences, does not respond with fear. She stands her ground, calm yet firm, asserting her autonomy and self-worth. This moment allows her to reclaim her narrative, rejecting the labels of lame and unworthy that have haunted her for years. Simultaneously, Clara must confront societal judgment. Rumors and prejudice from townsfolk or neighbors may resurface, questioning her place on the ranch or her relationship with Gabriel. These challenges test not only her confidence, but her ability to assert her dignity in the face of criticism. Clara responds with poise, intelligence, and quiet strength, proving through her actions and words that she is capable, resilient, and deserving of respect. Her previous vulnerabilities, once seen as weaknesses, have now become sources of wisdom, empathy, and courage. Gabriel plays a critical role during this confrontation, not as a savior, but as a supportive partner. He provides reassurance and protection when necessary, yet he respects Clara's independence, allowing her to face these challenges on her own terms. This balance emphasizes the equality and trust in their relationship, reinforcing the emotional growth both characters have experienced. Gabriel's steadfast presence strengthens Clara's resolve and demonstrates that love can coexist with respect, autonomy, and mutual support. Throughout this phase, Clara also faces internal challenges. She reflects on her past, acknowledging the pain and trauma she endured, and chooses to forgive, not to excuse her family's cruelty, but to release herself from the grip of anger and resentment. This emotional closure allows her to move forward without carrying the weight of past abuses, and it deepens her self-awareness and self-respect. It is a transformative moment, highlighting the emotional maturity and resilience she has developed. The confrontation culminates in a symbolic assertion of Clara's agency. Whether it is standing up to her family, addressing societal prejudice, or making a decisive choice about her own future, Clara demonstrates that she is no longer defined by fear, weakness, or labels imposed upon her. She is now a fully realized individual, capable of shaping her destiny and earning her place in the world on her own terms. By the end of, the narrative reaches a powerful turning point. Clara has faced and overcome external and internal obstacles, reaffirmed her strength and independence, and solidified her bond with Gabriel. She emerges triumphant, not through vengeance or confrontation alone, but through courage, self-respect, and resilience. The story sets the stage for a hopeful and emotionally fulfilling conclusion, where Clara can embrace her newfound life, love, and future without fear. With the trials of her past faced and overcome, Clara steps fully into her new life on the ranch, transformed in body, mind, and spirit. The snow that once symbolized her abandonment and near death now recedes in memory, replaced by the warmth of the hearth, the sunlight across the rolling fields, and the steady, comforting presence of Gabriel. She is no longer the vulnerable girl left to die. She is a strong, capable, and self-assured woman who has earned her place in the world. Life on the ranch has become a balance of routine, responsibility, and joy. Clara moves confidently through daily tasks tending animals, helping with repairs, and managing parts of the household. Her adaptations to her physical disability continue to serve her well, turning what was once seen as a weakness into a demonstration of resilience and ingenuity. Each day, she grows more competent and independent, fully embraced as a vital part of the ranch's operation. Her skills, patience, and intelligence earn not only Gabriel's admiration but also respect from anyone who witnesses her contributions. The emotional bond between Clara and Gabriel flourishes in this environment. Their relationship is no longer defined by the circumstances of her rescue, but by mutual respect, love, and shared life. They laugh together, work side by side, and plan for the future, their interactions full of warmth and unspoken understanding. Gabriel's initial role as a protector has naturally evolved into a partnership of equals. He values her opinions, trusts her judgment, and shares his life openly, creating a foundation of trust and affection that is deep, enduring, and authentic. Clara, having reconciled with her past, begins to dream of possibilities she once thought impossible. She envisions a life filled with freedom, purpose, and love, one where her identity is no longer constrained by cruelty, judgment, or societal labels. The ranch becomes a symbol not just of survival, but of rebirth and empowerment. Every sunrise over the fields, every completed task, and every moment of laughter reinforces that she belongs, that she is capable, and that she has the power to shape her own story. The story also emphasizes a sense of community and belonging. Clara and Gabriel's ranch becomes a place of connection, not just for them, but for those they welcome or interact with. It represents the possibility of new relationships built on respect, kindness, and mutual support, contrasting sharply with the cruelty and abandonment Clara experienced in her family. Her presence on the ranch serves as an example of resilience and courage, inspiring others around her. As the narrative closes, Clara fully embraces her life with Gabriel. The snowstorm that once threatened to end her story is now a distant memory, a reminder of how far she has come. She stands confidently on the ranch, looking out over the fields, her heart full of gratitude and hope. Gabriel joins her, and together they envision a future shaped by love, trust, and shared purpose. Their bond, tested through hardship and strengthened through adversity, symbolizes the triumph of compassion and resilience over cruelty and despair. The final scenes underscore themes of renewal and empowerment. Clara is no longer defined by the labels of her past. She is a survivor, a partner, and a woman in control of her own destiny. The story ends on a note of optimism and fulfillment, showing that even the harshest trials can give way to new beginnings when courage, love, and resilience guide the way. Clara's journey from abandonment in the snow to a life of safety, respect, and love leaves the reader with a profound sense of hope and emotional satisfaction.